is making its return autonomously tonight without NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams after a decision to return without crew was made during a flight test readiness review last week. But the team here in Mission Control will be watching over Starliner over the course of the next hour and a half as the spacecraft fires its engines to drop back into Earth's atmosphere and make its way down for a landing in New Mexico at about 11 p.m. Central or midnight Eastern.
The team here is led tonight by Flight Director Rick Henfling with weather assistance from Flight Director Mike Lammers. Henfling is just under 7 minutes away from polling the flight controllers here in the room on their readiness for Starliner to perform its deorbit burn at Starliner's landing zone. Teams in
Greetings,
Florida,
everybody. Welcome back to
Houston, and
part
New
2.
Mexico have been monitoring the spacecraft famously undocked from the
I
International
have the
Space
volume
Station
turned all the way up on the
5:04
video,
p.m.
so let me know how that
time,
is. That's
while
as
flying
loud as it'll
260
go.
miles over central China.
David, good to see
NASA
you. How are
astronauts
you?
Butch Wilmore and
Where
Sunny
are
Williams
you?
National Space Station in June as part of NASA's Boeing crew flight test. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket
Aloha.
its Complex 31 at
Dewey.
Cape Canaveral Space Force
2
Station in Florida.
maxes in one day.
That was
That's too
it.
much for
They
anybody.
arrived at the International Space Station on June 6th.
Thank you, Bob.
During that June 6th rendezvous, NASA and Boeing identified helium leaks and experienced issues with the Starliner's reaction control thrusters as the spacecraft approached the space station. Since then, engineering teams have completed a significant amount of work collecting and reviewing data, conducting flight and ground testing, hosting independent reviews with agency propulsion experts, and developing various return contingency plans.
Greetings,
Uncertainty
Illinois.
and lack of expert concurrence did not meet the agency's
Say hey to
safety and
Jake and
performance
Elwood for
requirements
me.
for human spaceflight, thus prompting NASA's decision to return Boeing's
Flight
Starliner
attendant from Houston,
back to
thank
Earth
you.
without the
How's
astronauts
the
Butch
humidity
Wilmore and Sunny
tonight?
Williams aboard. The uncrewed return allows NASA to continue
Rancho
gathering
Bernardo,
test
just
data
up the
on
road.
Starliner during its
Hey,
upcoming
Gary.
flight home, while also not accepting additional risk for the crew. Wilmore and Williams, meanwhile, have formally joined the Expedition 7172 crew and are going to remain at the space station conducting science experiments and helping with maintenance through
I
February
don't know. So far, he's
2025.
been a
They're going to
ghost,
fly
but
home
let's
aboard
hope
a
so.
Dragon
To the
spacecraft with 2 other crew members assigned to the
Rossum's
agency's
question about the
SpaceX
new guy at
Crew 9
Boeing.
mission. That is NASA astronauts Nick Hague and Roscosmos
Yeah.
cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov.
Jerry, Houston is humid. So is New Orleans and South Florida,
On
where I'm
Thursday
from.
afternoon, the hatches were closed between
Not here in San
Starliner
Diego,
and the
though.
International Space Station.
It is hot
And
today,
earlier
though.
today at 5:04 p.m. Central, the docking hooks released Starliner, allowing it to
Inwood,
separate and
thank
begin
you.
moving away from the space station and into place for its journey home. You can see that video from earlier today playing here.
Oh, FYI, I've been having some overheating issues with my Rodecaster audio. So if I go away unexpectedly, I'll keep typing. But somebody's going to get a stern phone call from me tomorrow.
We saw a beautiful display of Starliner's thrusters there.
Which one is Murphy? The one that talks like a little girl? New Zealand. Oh, that is my destination of choice. That and Sicily, where my grandpa's from. Well, he was from. He's not from anywhere now.
Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams also had some words to say for the teams here on the ground as Starliner was making its way away from the space station.
Greetings, Parrish.
Station Houston, space to ground 2 for Starliner undock status.
Like, oh my gosh.
Go ahead, we're with you.
Sundance.
Hey, Sunny, both the Starliner and ISS flight control teams have pulled go for undock at this time. The expected undock time is 22:04.
Has anybody heard from Butch
copy,
lately?
2204. Hey, we're just looking at the flight control roster, and wow, it is the all-star team. You guys, it is time to bring Calypso home.
Sorry.
You have got this. We have your backs, and you've got this. Bring her back to Earth. Good luck.
Sunny and Butch, this is Chloe. Just on behalf of the entire MO team, I know the other flight control teams around the building.
Who sang Calypso? Was that John Denver?
Over the years, we've enjoyed every training event and every meeting. We remember every setback and every revelation with you. The teams on the ground
That's wonderful, David.
Countless hours.
Thank you for
over the
joining.
last few weeks, months, and for a group of us, years to bring Calypso back, and we're ready to do that today. We wish you the best of luck in your increment. And Sunny, I will make sure the right people have your coming home song ready.
You
to play
live
on
in the
Space
future,
Ground
David.
when it's time for you guys to come home. Good luck and thank you.
Wonderful comments.
There's
Mike.
Butch.
We appreciate that, and we agree. Many years of great enjoyment, simming together, playing together, and being involved with each other's lives, and it's been special. Bring it home.
Happy, thank you, and have a good evening.
Oh, yeah, we're in
That again
Sicily.
was a conversation recorded earlier today between astronauts Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore talking with the Starliner flight director at the time of undocking, Chloe Meering. Since that undocking, when Starliner and the space station were flying 260 miles above central China,
My grandfather came
Starliner's
from
been
Palermo
steadily
and ended up in
increasing the
Ellis
distance
Island, New
between
York.
it and the space station, ensuring that it will be able to get into place to perform a 10:17 p.m.
Campobello.
central deorbit
Nice.
burn. Now in about 20 minutes. While it has been moving away, the flight controllers here on the ground took the opportunity to perform a few tests of Starliner's thrusters.
Yeah, David, me
During the
too. This
test,
is
the
the
crew
safest
module's
way.
12 small reaction control system thrusters, one of the jets didn't fire when commanded. The reaction control system thrusters on the crew module are used to steer Starliner as it makes its way back down to Earth after the service module has been jettisoned. Because those 12 jets are divided into two redundant strings of 6, Starliner only uses one string during normal operations. So although this means a slight loss of redundancy, it shouldn't keep Starliner from getting through reentry and landing as
Yeah,
expected.
did John Denver sing that song?
Yeah, and Starliner
By
has plenty
Calypso?
of redundancy with this part of the prop system on the capsule, so no impact to the deorbit burn or reentry, and it's not required
Olin.
for flight rules. The team also tested 10 of the 28
Mine was a
reaction
bit
control
older. He
system
came in, I
jets
think it was
in the service module
1913 or
after undocking,
11, something like
and they
that.
all performed as expected.
And here on the ground, the team just gave their go officially to Rick Henfling, today's flight director.
Hey, all
Meaning
my
that
exes live in
tonight's
Texas.
landing of
No,
Starliner
not all of
is
them.
on. That again is
They're kind of
scheduled
scattered.
to happen. Touchdown at
Greetings, Big Daddy.
11 p.m. Central Time or midnight Eastern Time.
Hopefully, they'll have the desert all lit up in New Mexico when it lands so we can all see it. Well, unless we can all see it, if you know what I mean. You don't want to see it before you see it. Dewey. That's true. It's not too long. Touchdown. I'm not sure I had that information. Let me see. Maybe I have it. What does that say? 10:30 local
Once again,
time.
flight director Rick Henfling has gotten a go from Starliner's
0250 GMT.
for Starliner's deorbit burn from all of the flight controllers watching over the spacecraft's return tonight. And that again means we are officially on for Starliner's return to Earth at about 11 p.m. Central Time or midnight Eastern. The deorbit burn at 10:17 p.m. Central Time is now just 17 minutes away. That'll be a 59-second firing of 4 of Starliner's orbital maneuvering and
We got a
attitude
while.
control thrusters on Starliner's service module. And joining us live from Starliner's landing zone with White Sands at White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico, our colleagues Leah Cheshire from NASA Public Affairs and Boeing's Josh Barrett. Leah and Josh, how is it going out there?
Thanks, Brandy. It is going well out here. We are out here in White Sands. The weather right now is about 75 degrees and very light winds, approximately 6 miles per hour. This looks like potentially a picture from earlier today. It is quite dark out
No,
here at
Ross,
this
I
point.
didn't
We have
see
a
that
beautiful
one.
view of the stars, and we are lined up in the convoy getting ready
Honolulu.
to roll.
That's right,
Mahalo.
Leah. So I've been out here for both of Starliner's previous landings. The first one was very cold. The second one was quite warm, and this one feels just about right. We're following along with two command vehicles. We've got the MLCC, or the Mobile Landing Control Center. They're tied in down in Mission Control in Houston with the people that you're seeing on your screen right now. We also have the MDTV. That's the
Hope they don't
mobile
land on
data
your
and
house, huh?
tracking vehicle. And on top of that, it's got a suite of optics on top. There's an
Are
infrared
you in Las
camera and
Cruces?
two visible cameras,
Kind of
one of
close to
them
there.
with a telescopic focus. So those will be the first things that we'll be seeing Starliner with here from the landing zone. And you should be seeing those on your screens as well. And Leah's got a few more things that she'll talk about that should get some cameras on Starliner as well.
Yeah, especially the WB-57, NASA's plane. That took off just a few hours ago, just as we were heading out here to the landing site. So we arrived here at about 6 p.m. local time, which is mountain time. And since then have been getting ready, lining up, doing communications checks between the various teams, and just getting ready to eventually drive out to the landing site once Starliner comes down. So it is a sea of white gypsum sand out here. And teams are continuing to just prepare as soon as we get into that deorbit burn. So they are actually in a huddle right now, talking through some of the next steps for tonight, getting ready to come and join us here in the convoy.
Shout out to
as we
Inglewood,
await
Dante.
to see the deorbit burn. So with that, right now, we are going to turn it back over to you, Brandy and Lauren. We are going to stick around, though, and cannot wait to see Starliner coming straight across the sky. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Leah and Josh. We are hoping to get some good views from where you guys are at later today.
Now, once we make that final burn to get out of orbit today, it'll take about 45 minutes for Starliner to reach its destination. Again, White Sands Space Harbor, New Mexico, where we just spoke with our colleagues from. Starliner is currently flying with its solar arrays pointed toward the sun, recharging the internal batteries to keep its systems powered through landing. The orbital maneuvering and attitude control thrusters, or what we call OMACs, will fire for about a minute to conduct the deorbit burn. That maneuver slows the spacecraft down from orbital velocities and allows it to start falling back to Earth in a head-down position. At the end of that deorbit burn, Starliner angles itself for reentry.
The deorbit burn is just the first in a series of milestones we're going to be ticking off tonight. To give you the full rundown, deorbit burn is scheduled for 10:17 p.m. Central. As we said, we just got the go for that a few minutes ago. It's going to be followed by the separation of the crew module from the service module at 10:20 p.m. and the crew module will then continue on its own. At 10:45 p.m., Starliner will begin to feel the effects of the Earth's atmosphere again for the first time since its ascent in June. And a few minutes later, around 10:47, the heat from Starliner's reentry will become so intense that that plasma will begin to form around the spacecraft, causing a blackout in communications with Starliner for about 4.5 minutes. Once Starliner clears that blackout period, things will begin to happen very quickly.
Yeah, so then up next at 10:56, when Starliner is about 4.3 miles above Earth, the spacecraft will be done with the forward heat shield that is at the top of the capsule that helped protect it through reentry, and it will jettison it to make way for the parachutes that are stored underneath. And then almost immediately, those parachutes will begin to deploy. First with two smaller drogue parachutes
Yeah, it
that
was
are meant
in
to take
Florida
the
for
edge off
Challenger. I watched it
Starliner's
happen
speed.
live.
They open up in stages over the course of about 28 seconds. And then at 10:57 p.m., when Starliner is about 6 miles up, the
Hello,
drogue
Inglewood, New
parachutes are
Mexico.
released and 3 main parachutes are deployed. They also open in stages over about 16 seconds, but they stay with the spacecraft all the way until touchdown.
Palermo.
And again, we are expecting that touchdown to
He
come
came
at
from
11
Palermo,
p.m.
Sicily.
Central. Just before the touchdown, however, at 10:58 p.m., Starliner also sheds its base heat shield at the bottom of the capsule to make way for the inflation of 6 landing airbags hidden underneath it, and those will cushion the vehicle as it lands in New Mexico's desert.
You hope they will cushion the vehicle.
It's probably worth mentioning
ATL.
that we do not have
Spend a lot of
video
time
from
in your
Starliner.
airport.
If you think back to June on its ascent and journey to the International Space Station,
Hey, Ramon.
it's not able to send video down when it's not
Francisco.
connected to the space station, so we won't be getting in-flight views from it. But we
Philippines.
do have several cameras out at the landing site, as well as some
My
aircraft
brother
in the
lives in
area
Hong
that we are
Kong. Took
hoping to
him a
get some views
Philippine
from.
bride.
But of course, it is going to be pretty dark out in the desert at night, so they may be infrared or black and white views, but hopefully we'll get some good
Where
camera
are
views
you in
to
the
show you.
Philippines, David?
And we're taking a live look now from the landing site, but the shot is
Yeah, Ellis Island,
quite
back
dark
in the
at the
days when
moment.
they
You'll
actually
see
had
just
a door to
few
get in, huh?
lights blinking there. Hopefully, as we get closer to the ground, as Starliner gets closer down, we will have some better shots.
Yeah, it is a busy airport in Atlanta, that's for sure. Seattle. Say hi to Boeing for me, David. Another New Zealand. Kiwi Diesel. Nice. Arizona. Cebu. Ah. I'm not sure, but I think I have some in-laws over there. I'll have to check with the brother. OJ. Yeah, that chase was on everywhere. Yeah, Texas, you got the boom all right when it flew over.
The landing and recovery teams have been out in the desert preparing for the spacecraft's return for
Hey,
several
Matt in
days. I've been
Massachusetts.
speaking with them to catch up on some of the preps that have been taking place. They ran through a full mission dress rehearsal where they practiced the landing and recovery operation with all the different groups and functions. And they've also been keeping a close eye on the wind direction to establish the best recovery zone out at White Sands. They've even sent up some weather balloons
Greetings,
to check the
Mark.
wind speeds.
Where are you at?
Tracking vehicles out there are equipped with
Arkansas.
cameras, so the team has been calibrating those. And again, although we don't expect any views from Starliner on its way down, we're hoping to get some good ones from those tracking cameras as well as aircraft in the area. We plan to have the WB-57
You made a car out
giving
of
views
spaghetti?
while it is about 16,000 feet above
Should
the
put that on
ground
YouTube.
until the drogue parachutes deploy, and then at about 6,000 feet,
Oh, I like
we
Airbus,
hope
Jerry.
to see views from a Cessna in the
Good
area.
planes. They don't really need a pilot, but they're
And
good
this is
planes.
actually a current view of the Cessna as it makes its way out to the landing site, White Sands Space Harbor
Kiwi
in New
Diesel.
Mexico. And this is a shot from one of the ground cameras that we have on site. So
5
again,
a.m.
although
in
it is dark there,
Sweden.
we are hoping to see
Hey, Jonas.
to see some good views.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us.
And in the last few hours, the teams there on the ground have been at the holding
Scare
area,
bus.
loading up their vehicles, doing last-minute checks, making
Scotland.
sure all the
I
equipment
can't do
is
an
ready to
accent.
go, and then shortly they'll begin moving into place to watch Starliner make its final approach. And then once Starliner lands, teams will move closer in a very strategic way.
Sorry about
They will
that.
first stop at about the 500-foot mark away from the spacecraft, and then they'll move
I
in
have a mute
closer
button.
to the 150-foot mark while ground teams safe the vehicle.
That first team on site with Starliner will be what we call the gold team. They start recovery operations by performing what's called a sniff test, where they use sensors to check for hydrazine, one of the propellants that Starliner uses. They'll be wearing protective gear known as hazmat suits to prevent exposure to hypergolic propellants. Hydrazine is used as propellant, and if it turns into a vapor, it can be toxic. After the sniff test, they will notify the rest of the convoy when it's safe to approach, and then they're going to check the winds, make sure the entire landing and recovery team is staged uprange from the direction the wind
Yeah,
is
for some
blowing
reason,
for added protection.
I thought this was going to go a lot
Well,
quicker
everyone out
tonight,
there
but
is part
apparently
of
it's
a
going to take
different
a
color
while.
team, and they wear
Hmm.
vest with that color, so it's very obvious who does what. So the next step is the silver team, and their first job is to ground the spacecraft. Starliner will be powered down, but there
DARPA.
could be some residual electricity. So before anyone can touch it, they will ground it and discharge it.
Yeah, David, it isn't like SpaceX. They have all the cameras on their ship.
Teams here on the ground are reporting that
NASA could do
everything is
it, but
getting
I
into the
think they're afraid,
configuration for the deorbit burn.
considering,
That's now just about
the
6.5 minutes
non-success to
away.
success ratio.
Going on with what we were saying, we also will have the blue team that documents everything that's going on at the landing site. These are photographers from both Boeing and NASA who have
Hope so,
situational
Chainsaw.
awareness cameras. And again, here's a current view of those teams all ready to deploy at landing.
Yeah, that's the holding site that we were mentioning. And then, of course, you can see the mountains there in the background in this black and white view. Now, the green team hooks up the HVAC trailers to Starliner to get cooling on it.
If
But
there's
their
no
first
video, it
job is
didn't
to put up
happen,
an
David. That's
environmental
right.
enclosure on the spacecraft. And that enclosure looks a lot like a big inflatable. It wraps around the vehicle to get cool air around it and make sure the critical systems don't overheat.
Then the red team opens the hatch. That is mostly Boeing Fire and Rescue. They will back up the mobile access platform to Starliner's hatch, giving the team access.
And Starliner will be bringing back more than 900 pounds of cargo, including a nitrogen oxygen recharge system, or what we call NORS tank, that NASA will service and refill for future space station needs. The teams will unload that cargo before Starliner heads back to Florida.
Well, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Anytime.
Just over 5 minutes to go now until tonight's 10:17 p.m. Central Time deorbit burn. Team here on the ground reports that Starliner has gotten into the right attitude, kind of the right way it's pointing for that burn. So everything is looking good. We're on track for landing at 11 p.m. Central, midnight Eastern.
So they said landing at midnight Eastern, so that's 9 o'clock out here on the West Coast. And wherever you are in the world, I have no idea what time it is there. But yeah, Stephen, I've been having a hard time getting these last few thousand followers in, but I need that 100,000 mark. That's a magic thing for YouTube. They pay better attention to you after that. Plus, I get a sweet little silver trophy can hang on the wall. Started out with
Just a couple
0
4 minutes left to
subscribers.
go until the deorbit burn. We're going to check in once again with the landing team and Leah Cheshire and Josh Barrett.
Thanks, Brandy. Yeah, we are out here just waiting in the convoy area. Now, most of the team is taking part in a safety briefing right now as we prepare to watch the deorbit burn and the reentry and then move in toward the spacecraft. Like you mentioned, it's really dark out here. Josh and I were just able to take in the really beautiful sight of the Milky Way. It's so dark. So once the capsule starts to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, we expect to have a pretty good view of the streak as that plasma builds up around the capsule itself.
That's right. We should be seeing it come just over the southwest horizon, right through the saddle of kind of the mountains that are just overlooking the mountain range here. And remembering back to OFT1, kind of the view that we should be having here is that we'll hear the sonic booms as well after we see kind of that plasma envelope. And then pretty quickly afterward, it is pretty remarkable how quickly it does end up over our heads. We'll see the flashes from the mortars, which deploy those forward heat shield parachutes, which take the forward heat shield off. Then we start hearing those mortars, and then the parachutes start to deploy. And then it's kind of slow motion from there as it drifts down.
And we're seeing a lot of movement as teams have just
What I
completed
missed, I
that
had to
safety
feed the
briefing
cat.
here. So they're now all walking to join us at the convoy. So it looks like we are just a few minutes away from the deorbit burn, and the show is really getting on the road soon. So with that, we're going to turn it back over to you in Houston.
landing
We are
in
now
New
just
Mexico,
over 2
Ramon.
minutes away from the Deorbit burn. At this point, Starliner has moved well away from the
White
International Space
Sands.
Station and quite a few kilometers ahead of it as well. We had a number of smaller burns to ensure that Starliner was at a safe distance away
Cheaty,
from the
that's what
space
you do
station
with
before it
taxpayers' money. You
performs the
waste it.
deorbit burn that will bring
That's
it
the
out of
point of
orbit
it.
and on its journey back to Earth.
And Flight Director Rick Henfling and his team expect Starliner's orbital
Pretty sure
maneuvering
that's
attitude control
international
thrusters,
language.
also called OMAX, to fire around 10:17 Central Time, pushing the spacecraft
No.
out of its orbital flight path and onto its journey home.
I don't think so. Not
This
from
deorbit burn
Hartsfield.
will set us up for a touchdown time of about 11 p.m. Central or 10 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time out there in White Sands,
But
New
then again,
Mexico.
during Columbia, those people didn't expect to see anything
Once
either.
it's
So
there, control teams in
you never
Houston will
know.
begin powering off Starliner's radiators and solar arrays as the spacecraft now has enough power to get home, and sublimators will be taking over cooling. They use water to cool the cabin. Starliner is also, as we said, now
How
in correct
drunk are they
attitude
at
for
Boeing, do you
performing the
think, right
deorbit
now?
burn, and at this
Oh,
point, the
man.
service module and crew capsule are still attached to each other. 4 of the service module's 12 aft-facing orbital maneuvering and attitude control engines are going to be powering the deorbit burn, allowing them to separate safely.
And those engines are each 1,500-pound thrusters, meaning this burn will take about 6,000 pounds of thrust, slowing Starliner from its current orbital velocity and bringing it back to Earth's atmosphere for a smooth landing. The Small Reaction Control System, or RCS thrusters, assist here in holding Starliner in the correct attitude. During this test flight, our teams ran roughly 1 million computer model simulations showing all the different thruster combinations possible for a safe return to Earth today.
That's true
Just
story,
20 seconds
Chainsaw.
now until the burn starts.
You see something
The
in
last
Atlanta.
59
Well,
seconds.
in the sky. There's a lot
And
of other
again,
things
you
to
be
see in
firing
Atlanta.
those orbital maneuvering and attitude control thrusters.
Well, we got 206 watching. It's going to take a while
4
before we
orbital
get to the
maneuvering
good
and
stuff.
attitude
So
control thrusters on Starliner's service module are now firing, slowing Starliner down as the capsule begins its journey back to Earth. This will take about 59 seconds to complete. We're hearing all thrusters firing well so far. You can see here those representation of those thrusters firing. Starliner's maintaining its attitude, and as those large orbital maneuvering thrusters are firing, smaller reaction control system thrusters are also working, keeping the spacecraft in the correct position for the burn. Still looking good. And we did see the Deorbit burn cut off successfully. Teams here on the ground reporting a good burn. Starliner is now on its way to White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico, and a planned touchdown at about 11 p.m. Central, midnight Eastern Time.
So in about 40 minutes, it's going to touch down. In one form or another. Hey, Anodyne. Or Aaron, whichever one you go by. What could possibly go wrong, Iron Clay? Oh, a lot.
Next up on the to-do list for tonight is the separation of the service module. When the service module's job done, it'll be disposed of over the Pacific Ocean, leaving the uncrewed crew module to carry on alone. In addition to all its other jobs, the service module has spent the flight protecting the crew module's heat shield. Jettisoning it uncovers that critical piece of equipment, allowing it to shelter the spacecraft as it begins traveling back through the Earth's atmosphere.
The crew module will then make its final attitude adjustments to make sure the heat shield is at exactly the right angle to provide that protection. And those fine-tuned adjustments are really just the strong capability of Starliner's guidance, navigation, and control system. In fact, on the 2 previous flights, Starliner made bullseye landings thanks to that system.
Starliner's maneuvering into position for that jettison at this time.
Yeah, NASA really needs some cameras. I guess they have to get Elon's Starlink to do it, though. They don't like each other, so they like Elon. Boeing doesn't like him.
Team here on the ground reporting that
757, my
Starliner's in a
favorite
good
plane.
attitude, pointing the right direction for the service module separation.
And the service module has just jettisoned, separated, and is now falling away. It will burn up during reentry over a remote part of the Pacific Ocean. And Starliner will continue on its path to New Mexico, where the landing and recovery team is waiting for touchdown.
It's not a remote
Starliner
part
is
if
now
you're
angling
fishing there.
itself and its heat shield for reentry. The entry interface is coming up in just about 10 minutes. That's the hottest part of the reentry process, with Starliner's heat shield reaching about 3,000 degrees. To protect Starliner from those
Gino,
heat loads,
747
the
does
space process what's
rock.
called an ablative heat shield. The outer surface of that shield heats up to a gas, which then carries the heat away from the crew module through convection.
The 747 is
And our
sexy.
team calls this process a game of threes
A380,
because
not so
during
much.
entry interface, the heat shield will handle those temperatures of about 3,000 degrees, but it will convert that heat to about
No,
300
never did fly the
degrees with
Concorde,
only
Robert.
3 inches of ablator. And because of this protection
Did
during
you?
this hottest part of reentry, the inside of the spacecraft remains at about room temperature. When Starliner returned from its last 2 flights, the capsules
That's
landed
the
with
wrong
2
button.
black stripes up the sides,
I don't know what any of these buttons
indicating the
do.
heat shield was ablated as
Oh, there's one.
intended. So we do expect to see that again today, and the team considers that a bit of a badge of honor.
Yeah, Blue Origin is making a rocket. They're supposed to be a factor in the space station travels, but I haven't seen it yet. How did I get into aviation, Jerry? Oh, kind of quiet. Here's a little fact while we're waiting. Did you know that the inventor of Astroglide worked for NASA? It says in 1977, a young rocket scientist working on the Space Shuttle Enterprise made a discovery that would intimately enhance the lives of millions around the globe. While working at Edwards Air Force Base to improve the heat transfer and the cooling system of the shuttle orbiter, he discovered a solution that was watery soluble and non-toxic. It was also exceptionally slippery when hydrated, or when inspiration struck. The young scientist bottled up some of the solution and gifted it to a colleague for a gag gift. And when the guy came back for more, he knew he had a good product on his hands. Daniel X Ray was his name, and he eventually sold it to a company in California. But he was able to buy it back, and now he is the Astroglide King. And now, you know the rest of the story. No, I'd like to have them as a sponsor, but I got some filler material because we're waiting.
Performance deorbit burn on time at 10:17 p.m. Central Time, and then quickly turned around and jettisoned its service module now that it has performed its duty over the course of
I
the
like that he
mission.
gave it out in
We
gifts to
are
his friends.
still about 20 minutes away from entry interface, but things will start to happen quickly after that. About 4 minutes after we go into the entry
The
interface,
guy's wife
the
is
heat
like,
from
"Oh, honey,
Starliner's
this is great. Where'd
reentry
you
will
get
become
this?"
so
Oh,
intense that the plasma will begin
X-Ray Bob
to
made it
form
back at
around the
the shop.
spacecraft, causing a
Whipped up a
blackout in
batch just
communications
today.
with Starliner for about 4.5 minutes. And after that, we'll see Starliner
Oh, I got
jettison
more
its
filter too,
forward heat shield
Kiwi
that's been
Diesel.
protecting the parachutes during reentry. Then, when Starliner is around 30,000 feet above the ground, the spacecraft's parachute sequence will begin. Two drogue parachutes will start slowing Starliner down, and then they'll detach, and three main parachutes will deploy and inflate. At about 3,000 feet off the ground, the base heat shield jettisons, exposing the airbags. And then at touchdown, those airbags absorb the initial force of landing, cushioning the spacecraft for a soft, safe return to Earth.
That is quite a stretch, though, to go from a space shuttle lube to what it became, if you know what I mean. But somebody was really either smart or really daring. Infrared ear thermometer that came from NASA.
Orbit coming around the southern coast of Australia, and now is going to begin making its way northward towards the west coast of the United States for that landing at 11 p.m. Central Time, midnight Eastern Time at White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico. Again, we've had the deorbit burn that took place just as planned at 10:17, a 59-second burn that changed the Starliner speed by about 290 miles per hour, 130 meters per second. That made way for the service module separation, and the next milestone we'll be watching for is the entry interface coming up around 10:45. Still about 10 minutes away.
So 65 years later, we still get animation from NASA. That's what we get to look at. Hey, anybody in New Mexico or Arizona or even Texas, if you're outside looking, let us know if you see something streaking across the sky. Wheatland, Pennsylvania. Give me a city that's near. I used to take the bus in from Jersey to Philly to watch ball games when I was a kid. Booger. Sharon. Okay.
Live view here of the recovery forces staged near the landing site, ready to move in once Starliner touches down.
They got some nice cameras out there.
We are taking off milestones as expected for that 11 p.m. Central, midnight Eastern, or 10 p.m. Mountain Time touchdown today in New Mexico.
Youngstown, Ohio. Married a girl from Cleveland once.
Again, Starliner performed
Now
its
she lives in
deorbit
Florida,
burn
and I
about
lived in
12
San
minutes
Diego.
ago. The thrusters performed nominally, and the flight home is going smooth.
Is it really a flight home, or is it just falling? How many girls total? Married or unmarried? I had a good decade in my 30s. for sure. Michael getting his net back out. There you go. Well, this is exciting. Let me just see if I can. I don't know if this will work, but this is the undocking. I don't know how laggy it's going to be. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this StreamYard. Well, that didn't work.
Side of the convoy right now and keeping our eyes on the skies.
Yeah, that's right. We've got about just under probably 3 dozen vehicles all lined up in 3 rows, just waiting to get that touchdown signal. Again, going through that convoy list that you guys went through already so well. Behind that gold team, after Starliner is declared safe, the silver
Chase
team
capsule.
moves in and they do the electrical grounding. They'll also stabilize the vehicle just in case the airbags start deflating. We make sure that the hatch has a good stable orientation for red team to come in, and they're the ones with the hatch orientation. And once the red team establishes hatch access, actually the silver team has a fun job tonight in the
This
dark.
is my blind
They're going
cat,
to go start looking for the pieces that came off of Starliner. There's
Oreo.
some shields, some of those lids from those parachute mortars. And then after that, after red team has hatch access and opens up the ISS program, folks are going to come in for the cargo inspection.
So
Yeah.
again, we are expecting to start seeing Starliner coming across the
I'm not
horizon
Mrs.
around the time
Cat.
that entry interface
Wanna say
begins.
something?
But until then, just wanted to give you guys a hit from the landing site and the latest that we have
Mm.
going on here. So we'll toss it back over to you in Mission Control, Houston.
When'd you meow?
Thanks so much, Leah and Josh. We are watching for that entry interface
Okay.
as well. We're now about 12 minutes away. Starliner
Covered
continuing
in cat
to
hair
make
now.
good progress, following in that 10:17 p.m. Central Time deorbit burn.
Again, we're looking at the landing and recovery team set up at the
Over my
holding
right
zone
shoulder?
there at White Sands.
Well,
Josh and Leah are embedded with that convoy.
that is
and they
my
will make a
son,
very strategic move toward the
Dominic.
spacecraft after touchdown.
He's not with us
First
anymore,
stopping at
but
about the 500-foot mark,
I keep him with
and
me
then they'll get the go to
over
move
my
forward to the
shoulder.
150-foot mark.
Thanks for asking,
And
by
then
the
once
way.
the vehicle is considered safe, they will move in.
He never got to see his old man make a fool of himself on YouTube. Probably better off. But I appreciate you asking. Now you're hungry. Well, don't eat a cat. Gino. Would you and Sonny pop out? Like a Jack in the Box.
With the deorbit burn complete and
Oh, no, not at
the
all.
service
Thank you.
module separated,
Not something
the
you talk about
spacecraft's
in
heat shield is
conversation,
now
but I knew it would
exposed
come
and
up
ready to
eventually.
begin experiencing the atmosphere again. The Starliner is going to make some final attitude
We'll meet again
adjustments
one
that
day.
keep that heat shield pointing at exactly the right angle.
And next up after that is entry interface. Again, just coming up in a few minutes. At 400,000 feet above Earth, Starliner faces temperatures of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit from the plasma created by air friction around the spacecraft. But Starliner can handle that heat with its heat shield, which is made of an ablative material designed to keep the inside of the spacecraft at about 70 degrees.
I know in the last 2 landings, the uncrewed landings,
will experience
the
an
heat
expected
shield
blackout
melted
in
away in an
communications,
odd
and that will last for about 4.5 minutes. At
way.
30,000 feet and just 11 minutes before
But they
landing,
said it was
Starliner
normal.
jettisons its forward heat shield, exposing the spacecraft's parachute system. Then 2 drogue chutes will deploy, increasing drag and significantly slowing down Starliner. Then
Now I got
3
cat hair all
pilot
over me.
parachutes will pull out the main chutes, allowing the spacecraft to continue its slow and steady descent for another 8,000 feet towards the landing zone.
And once the main parachutes are fully inflated,
I have a question for you.
bucket handle releases.
I have a pet peeve.
What that does is
I think I'm going to make a video about it someday.
The spacecraft ahead of touchdown.
I can't stand it when I'm watching a YouTube video and they call everybody guys.
At about 3,000 feet.
Do you know if you look at my videos, all 500 of them,
of course, will fill with
you will never
allowing
hear
for
me say the
Starliner to
word
land
guy
softly and
in the
safely
video
there in the sand.
talking to you.
Less than 10 minutes to go now.
If you can find the word guy and me saying it in any of my videos, I'll give you whatever you want from the merch shop.
24.5 minutes away from the landing at White Sands
One of my
Space
pet
Harbor.
peeves.
Everything's
guys,
quiet
everybody.
in the room, which is a good sign. Things are
YouTube is
to
a
go
personal
smoothly as
experience. It's not
Starliner begins
a bunch
making
of
its way-
guys. It's just
making
me
its way
talking to
back
you
Earth.
on the crapper in the break room, trying to get away from the boss, or me talking to you laying on the bed or wherever. It's a one-on-one thing. It's not an everybody thing, even though there is a bunch of people watching. YouTube is a more intimate experience. Plus, I just don't like the word guys. It's weird. Ladies and gentlemen is good. But when you're talking into a camera, it's assumed you're talking to somebody.
On the left,
But
with
hey, man,
Mike
a lot of
Lammers on the
richer
right.
YouTubers than me
Rick
do it all the time, but it's just a
is
filler
the flight
word.
director for this landing
Dude,
operation.
yeah, it is kind of
Mike
bad.
is weather flight director. They are tag
But it's
teaming
become a
this
filler
operation.
word for everybody to just think of something to
The
say.
team has been keeping a close eye on weather at the landing site, but everything
That's why I just say you.
looks pretty
Because I'm
good for tonight's
talking to many
touchdown.
of you, but I'm talking to one of you, wherever you are at that
Yeah,
time.
about 79
So
degrees Fahrenheit out there. They reported
that's
10
just
miles
me.
of visibility.
You're watching Maximus
The
Aviation.
winds are within
Leave the
limits,
rub runner away
so
and your
we
troubles on the
are looking
ground.
good
And
for
I
a
will see you
touchdown.
next time. In the air.
Coming up right about 11 o'clock p.m. Central Time.
I made that up. Nowhere. I could say it like this.
Leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time. In the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.
Could say it like that. Like buttons. I use my buttons. I got another one that's a little different.
Sometimes you can just leave the rubber on the runway and your trouble's on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Maximus.
Yeah.
7 minutes to go now until entry interface. And then that intense heating will start about 2 minutes after we do begin the interface.
Hey, we have
That'll last
Astroglide,
about
though.
4.5
The heating
minutes,
gets
during
intense.
which time we'll be in a blackout.
I don't think that guy's real name was X-Ray. W-R-A-Y. That might have came later.
Starliner is currently about 130 miles, 149 miles rather, above the Pacific Ocean, heading northward towards the western coast of the United States.
I don't see it.
And it's touchdown in New Mexico.
Oh, it's going to come up by Seattle, huh? No, it just looks like it's going up there. I can't read this chart. Oh, the Astroglide. Sounds like a squirrel, yeah. Thank you very much. I prefer the natural voice, too. But I pay a lot of money for this thing, so every now and then I'm going to use the buttons. Not all the time.
We're taking a look here at the landing trajectory. There on the left of your screen, you can see that line that crosses over the Baja Peninsula.
Chainsaw, that can go
the
for
track Starliner will take as
Boston
it
or
makes its way
Chicago
into New Mexico.
or
As it
Louisiana.
gets
Yeah.
closer to the ground, people living in the area might get a bright shot of Starliner coming back through the atmosphere and
Right now,
landing there in
Elon, he smokes every now
White
and then.
Sands, New Mexico.
You can also
Gino
see
G.
there in the center of the screen the to-do list basically before we do get to landing. The service module separations highlighted in green because that one's already
Yeah,
taken
I
place.
love when something
And next up
terrible
is
happens.
entry
It's called
interface,
an anomaly.
about 5 minutes away from now.
Challenger, Columbia, just an anomaly. Times 7 humans. Sydney. Man, I want to go
Flight
to
controllers here
Australia.
in the room are reporting good attitude for that entry interface coming up again in just under 5
Boston.
minutes.
Every time I think of Boston, I think of The Departed, that movie. Man, that's a good movie. Next time I tell you to put somebody in the mosh, you put them in the mosh. Jack Nicholson. Adelaide, welcome, Tim. People all over the world. Any Miami Dolphin fans out there? I've been suffering my whole life. Hey, Key West. I think I had myself muted. I had a brother who lived in Key West. I still have a brother. He's living here, though. Indonesia. That's a big place, right? Oh, yeah, a lot of places in Indonesia. Yeah, a lot of people thought my voice was artificial intelligence in the beginning. Then they got to know me and found out he's not intelligent at all. Just artificial.
2.5 minutes left before Starliner begins to fill the
David
effects of the
Williams.
Earth's atmosphere again. Everything continuing to go smoothly. Flight controllers here in the room are quiet as they're working through their steps, but
Oh, they're
all
quiet.
going well so far. Starliner is in position to begin experiencing that heat from reentry. Now less than 100 miles above the Earth and heading towards the Baja Peninsula. We'll be flying over
Dewey.
that before landing in New Mexico.
Gino G.
Just 17 minutes to go until landing.
17 minutes. We've been having fun. Time is flying. Well, thank you, Gino. Or should I say,
Thank you, Gino.
what happened? Well, I see the flags moving, so they're still happening. Yeah, but The Departed is a good movie. I like that. The original one from Hong Kong was also good. I forget the name of that one. I think it was Internal Affairs or something. Speaking of the desert, No Country for Old Men. Oh, that's a good movie.
Less than a minute now until we begin entry interface.
Active shoots must be nervous. Kiwi Diesel, you are on top of
Again,
it.
about 2 minutes after entry interface starts, we'll begin seeing the heating really get intense, and we'll go into
I
a
don't
4.5
know.
minute
Embraer should,
blackout.
though, Ramon. They are in the right spot in the right time to do it. All is nominal. What an odd word. Why can't they say normal? Well, I remember when the Challenger went, he said the vehicle has exploded very tactfully. So I forget. He did say something like that, though.
Team here in the ground reporting entry interface has begun.
I think he said we've
Seeing
had a
good
major
range.
malfunction. And then he said it exploded. That's an understatement.
Seeing another view from the landing site, or the teams getting ready to move out to the landing site here. A little better idea from this view of exactly how dark it is out there with all the lights of the vehicle shining.
I wish we had a Boeing cam.
A minute and a half until we move into the blackout period for Starliner.
You imagine when it lands, they're all going to have their shirts off. They're all
And
going to be
14 and a half
drunk,
minutes until we
hooting and
land in
hollering.
White Sands, New Mexico.
Obviously a major malfunction. That's right, Ray. Well, Captain Obvious he
The
was.
Starliner enters Earth's atmosphere at 17 times the speed
I remember
of
as soon
sound,
as
which
I
could
saw
create
that,
a sonic boom
I was
for
about
those living in the
150 miles
area.
away, but
It will then be
when
slowed down
the
by
rockets
parachutes to a
separated,
speed
I knew
very
that was
similar
not
to what you
normal
might
at all.
experience while going down an elevator inside a high-rise building.
Oh,
The
yeah,
vehicle then
Shula
comes
did,
to a
Carol.
safe, comfortable stop at landing.
And he got my boy Marino and never got him a defense, though, or a running game. Thank you, Mark. Mark Pillow. I don't want to know your real name, but is that your real name? That's pretty cool. You should get together with X-Ray. If one can't dazzle with brilliance,
30
babble with
seconds now
BS.
until the blackout period begin. Due to the compression of friction
That's every
and friction
politician.
of the air, the molecules generate a very hot plasma that causes the red-orange glow you often see appear in post-flight imagery on many spacecraft. Although we won't get to see that tonight, it will happen. Causes an expected communication dropout. This one will last 4.5 minutes as the vehicle goes through a time when the plasma interferes with the satellite signal. We expect that blackout to
Are you
end around
serious, Mark?
10:52 p.m. Central.
Harry Pillow?
Well, this is also the time that I mentioned earlier where a
Either way, that's
Starliner
funny.
in the past 2 flights has gotten that black mark along the sides of it. And that just really proves to our team that the ablative heat shield, or the ablative material around Starliner, is doing its job, and the heat shield is pushing that plasma away.
Gino with a G. I like that.
It's blackout time again. Lasts about 4.5 minutes. We've got about 3.5 left of it. After that, the milestones we'll be watching for include forward heat shield jettison at 10:56, when Starliner is about 4.3 miles above the Earth. Very soon after that, almost immediately, drogue chutes deploy. Those give a little bit of an initial slowdown to the vehicle before the really large main parachutes deploy. That happens when the Starliner is about 2.5 miles above the Earth.
If this works, do you think Butch and Sonny are going to be like, oh, crap, we got to spend 4 or 5 more months here now? And they wish they would have went? Or you think they would have been happy that they stayed behind? Oh yeah, they're gonna miss a lot. Well, she's old. She's my age. She's 59. So maybe space is good for her. She likes to get away. But the thing that bothers me is that this is the same exact problem they had 2 years ago when it was autonomously leaving the station or the International Space Station. Same helium leaks, same places, same amount. And 2 whole years later, Boeing did nothing to fix it or repair it. And I think that's why Boeing was so mad because they knew the past 2 times the ship came home just fine with helium leaks. So Boeing's like, we didn't need to fix it. That's fine. It worked fine. But NASA didn't want to risk it. So Boeing, do your job. Fix the stinking thing.
This is a live view from the International Space Station where we're able to
You guys have a
get
full
a view
screen,
of
right?
Starliner's
You see
track
the
as
full
it
screen?
comes in. We are now less than 10 minutes away from landing at the White Sands Space Harbor, scheduled for
All I see is
10 or
lights in
11
my
p.m.
eyes.
Central. Also, getting reports that the WB-57 is also able to see Starliner now as it begins coming in for its landing. We've still got just about a minute left to go before Starliner comes out of its blackout period.
JB Weld, man, that used to be the go-to for everything. So what are we looking at? Like I said, all I see is lights. I cannot believe how many lights it takes to do this. Crazy. Okay, there's the bottom. It looks like the red glow.
I'm getting excited.
And this is the view from the WB-57, one of NASA's aircraft that is at the landing site, has been staged and ready to
That's
pick
bottom.
Starliner or pick up the view of Starliner as it comes in, and that is what we are seeing now.
And they're filming this video from about 16,000 feet.
Oh, so there's
WB-57
16,000 feet up, and that's above them
give
coming
us
down.
a view until the drogue parachutes deploy, and then we hope to pick it up with the Cessna that is also in the area.
Well, if you learned one thing tonight, you learned that a guy from NASA made Astroglide.
And flight controllers here in the room are reporting that we are out of that
That's
blackout
important
period
information.
and everything is looking good. Starliner remaining nominal as she returns to Earth.
Just say normal. Nominal.
Again, this is a view from the WB-57.
Yeah, it does look like they're lighting it up. I don't know if that's
Starliner showing a beautiful streak.
a visible
across the
laser or
sky
not. If the
as she
camera is just
returns
picking it
to
up,
White
or
Sands, New Mexico.
unless it's not the Starliner, then it's from outer space.
We're about 3 minutes away from the forward heat shield jettisoning. That's the next milestone we're looking for.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
Starliner is currently about 27 miles above the Earth, and the team at White Sands reporting that they have seen it. We got a tally hole from them reported remotely.
Boeing's going to be so mad.
That means they are seeing Starliner from the ground there in New Mexico.
I don't know if I have any good cheesy music to go along with this. No.
This view is coming from the Cessna that's also in the area, picking up Starliner now from its lower altitude, about 6,000 feet above, whereas the WB-57 is about 16,000 feet up. We are now just 6 minutes and 22 seconds away from landing.
I hope she's talking about a Cessna jet, not a Cessna.
We should also just be a couple of
152.
minutes away from the forward heat shield jettison, which will bring on the drogue parachute deploy, followed by the main parachutes.
And the strobe lights on Starliner are now on.
It's got strobe lights. They're a disco ball.
Starliner is now over the landing site, and that strobe light will help the teams actually track Starliner on the ground because it is very dark out there.
Now about 12 miles above the landing site and just 5 minutes away from landing.
Oh man, there's a lot of drunken I love yous over at Boeing going on right now. I love you, man. Yeah, Gino, I flew a 152.
Watching now for the forward heat shield jettison. That should be coming up. Again, making way for the parachute deployment.
Take me to your leader. Yeah, no. No, you don't want that.
All right, and that action you're seeing on your screen, forward heat shield and drogues out.
Oh. Is that the capsule?
Really interesting view of this coming down from the WB-57. See those two drogue parachutes
That thing is
now
moving.
deployed. They slow the vehicle down
Piper's a good
initially
plane.
until it gets to a safe speed for the enormous main parachutes to follow.
Oh, man. Well, that's good news for Boeing.
About 4 minutes to go until touchdown.
They get to keep their job.
Now back to a view from the Cessna aircraft in the vicinity of the landing site. Again, this is a view from a little lower than the WB-57 we were seeing.
Although we don't know how hot it got inside, but I'm assuming it's okay.
The next thing we're going to see here is the 3 main parachutes come out, and everything will happen pretty quickly from that point on.
Oh, that was weird. The clouds went the other way.
After those mains are out, we'll see the bottom heat shield that has been protecting Starliner through its journey through the atmosphere come off. That makes way for the landing airbags.
Are they still on the drones, or is that the mains? There we go. Here's the mains.
And there's the main parachutes there on your screen. We see 3 out, currently reefing.
Reefing? Reefing. I'm not
And the
going to say
teams
it.
at the landing recovery teams report that they heard booms as those came out.
3 good mains fully open there. You can see Starliner in a slight tilt, so we're going to see the rotation handle move here shortly, and it will level out Starliner.
Well,
But
this
3
officially brings to an
good
end my
parachutes
Starliner
looking great.
content for the future.
Just a little over 2 minutes until the expected landing
Till
time.
Boeing
And we
does
heard
something
the
else.
rotational handle has been released, so you can see that tilt evened out.
Reefing. Yeah.
Next up is the back
I don't know
heat
if I-
shield jettison. And there it goes. That again makes way for the
David,
airbag
do you think
depletion.
anybody calls it a reefer
Just to see
anymore?
that, you can see the airbags deploying there
Anybody
on your
even
screen. Those airbags are filled with nitrogen as they guide
young
Starliner
today?
safely back to the desert floor.
There it comes. Butch and Sonny are going, oh. Yeah, but I mean, people not our age. I'm pretty sure we're all in the same generation.
Just a beautiful sight as Starliner makes its way
Yeah.
to the sands
I have a
of New
big Boeing
Mexico.
Max story coming up on the Alaska Air one about
And flight controllers confirming
everything
6
that
good
went wrong
airbags.
with not repairing that plane that was
You
supposed
still
to be
coming in to
repaired.
us from the Cessna. We've got just about a minute left to go until the expected touchdown. I'll be watching for that time for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a lot of fun at Boeing's expense, but this is good. This is good news. It's good they didn't risk Butch and Sonny. It's good they're going to be able to use it again. Now, like I said 2 years ago, they didn't fix it, so now they need to actually fix it and make sure it works. Put a little dab of Astroglide on there and it'll slide right in.
Just about 15 seconds away from expected touchdown. You're seeing the ground there in your screen as we get closer.
I am. It looks phenomenal. Boeing is going to be impossible to live with for the next week. Yeah, we told you so, man. Elon sucks. Yeah, David, you're right. I wouldn't want to rely on it. Well, the parachutes are good.
Touchdown. Starliner is back on Earth. That landing coming at 11:01 and 35 seconds Central Time, 10:01 and 31 seconds Mountain Time at White Sands Space Harbor at the U.S. Army's Missile Range in New Mexico. Our landing and recovery teams will now wait for clearance before making their way to the spacecraft.
What does clearance have to be there for?
One of the changes required with no crew on board is that the team here in the flight control room will be the ones to command the parachute to be cut away so that the wind doesn't pull the capsule along. But that's no problem for them. So
Oh, you're
now
welcome, Michael.
with
My
Starliner down, they
pleasure.
can begin working on some of the post-landing to-do items. Again, we saw Starliner touchdown at 11:01 p.m. Central Time. That's 1 minute after midnight Eastern Time
Well, that was a
for
success.
10:01 p.m. Central at the landing site in New Mexico.
I hear clapping in the background. That's a good sign. I don't know if I've reached any new viewers, but if you're new to the channel,
This
welcome.
is a view from
Consider
the Cessna,
subscribing.
still watching the drones slowly make their own way
Fun place
down.
to be most of the
Those,
time.
of course, are the drogue parachutes that preceded the main parachutes, first slowing Starliner down before the large parachutes.
Here, Butch and Sonny. Gino.
And really just a flawless and
It's like
beautiful
two
descent
dogs.
of Starliner today. We even heard some cheers.
I don't think those parachutes are nominal.
In the background.
Thank you, David. We will. I'll get better at this. Ray, thank you. Reeves, thank you. Appreciate y'all. Let's get to that 100,000 mark this year. It's been too long. 24,000 more. So by January, we can do it. Oh, you just don't like Elon. He's good. He does good stuff.
This again is the drogue parachutes still making their way to the ground after Starliner has touched down with its main parachutes. Touchdown came at 11:01 p.m. Central Time.
Victor.
The team here in Mission
Victor
Control
has the
will
Vector.
be working through some post-landing steps now.
Roger, Roger. Yeah, those anomalies. Hey, it's Mars. How do we end up on Mars? Oh, it's a flying saucer. Oh,
View here of
Dewey. Thank
Starliner
you. Appreciate it.
at its landing site in White
Thanks for
Sands
stopping
Space
by.
Harbor.
Thunder, you too.
The landing and
Good
recovery
night.
teams will soon begin making its way out to them to begin recovering the spacecraft.
It's got to cool off. And you know what can cool it off? Is some good Astroglide.
Team here
That'll
in
cool it right
Mission
down.
Control is pulling right now to see if everybody is ready to power off the vehicle. That again is a step that the flight control team has taken over with the
Glad you did too, Westside
lack of crew on
Aviation.
board.
Connor, you heard it?
Once
What
the
state are you in?
spacecraft is powered down, they will be transitioning control of the spacecraft over to the landing and recovery team. And it's a little difficult to see in this shot, but there is a strobe light on Starliner that will help the teams follow it out there.
Oh, I love New Mexico. Beautiful place. I've only visited, but
And the recovery team is on the move, but I think Leah Cheshire and Josh Barrett, our colleagues out there, may be able to give us
okay,
one last
why?
update. Leah and Josh, can you hear us?
Great landing of Calypso. I don't think that could be a
Brady,
better
hopefully.
birthday.
Obviously, we did have
Sonny
really a
is so
great
mad.
show. We were able to see the cameras that you were watching too from the WB-57, from the Cessna, from the International Space Station. But
Leah, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Yeah, Matt Williams.
Amazing day.
We were hearing a bit from space to ground there, but I think they've concluded, unfortunately. We'll see if we can get a recording of that for folks listening at home. But
That's right, Westside Aviation. Hit that like button. Good night.
Yeah, sorry about that. Couldn't hear that one here. So, but here comes
Likes are great.
MCPH here. Rick just wanted to offer that he's got one more hour here.
Exactly.
Hey, it's his birthday
Chainsaw
here.
back to the
Yeah,
normal
that's what
anomalies.
Yeah, it was a good landing. It's pretty
They
awesome.
can drive in a straight line. That's pretty amazing. They must be rocket scientists. It does look like another
You guys
planet.
are the best. You are the best.
Thank you.
Sonny Williams there offering a slightly early happy birthday to
You know, I haven't
Director Rick
heard from
Henfling,
Sonny
who
or
will
Butch,
be
and if you did, let
celebrating
me
his
know.
birthday on
An
September
opinion either
7th,
way
but
on whether
technically in
they
Houston,
wanted to
we're
come back
still
or not.
a
I
little less than an
wasn't
hour
able
away
to
from
see any
that.
stories on
They
that.
are, of course, already
No,
on
wait, I don't
September 7th
trust Boeing
at the
either.
International Space Station. But Leah, if you were still with us, we'll still take that update if you can give it to us.
Yeah, so as I was saying, we got to see the capsule and the plasma trail coming up over the mountains from the southwest. And we were all still standing outside the convoy to watch that happen. But the most unexpected part was when I could hear the main parachutes being deployed. It was very faint, just a little bit of a rumble. But that strobe light really helped us identify Starliner as it was descending, and it would reflect a little bit up onto those parachutes. So we actually had a decent view as it was coming down under those chutes. And now we are
What did she call
actually
that?
on the drive out,
Flafing?
and we can
With an
see the
F?
strobe light. It's
Flafing
giving us
parachute?
great direction as we
Or
head toward
fleefing?
the capsule.
Yeah, that's right. We are actually making
Uh-huh.
our way down the former space shuttle runway, literally driving right down the middle of it.
Literally.
Starliner is
Literally.
a little bit towards the southern end, so we see that strobe kind of in the distance there. But we will make our way to the 500-foot mark, where Gold Team will move in and begin their assessment.
Reefing. Thank you, Matt.
And then once they declare that proximity operations can begin, the recovery ops will really get underway.
And with that, I think we were going to toss it back to you, Brandy and Lauren. If you don't hear it from us again tonight, just wanted to say thanks for
We're going to
letting
toss
us
it
be
to
part of
Randy
the
and Lauren.
broadcast and give you the perspective of all the hardworking ground teams, both NASA and Boeing, out here at White Sands in New Mexico. So with that, sending it back over to Mission Control Houston.
Thanks so much, Josh and Leah. It's great to see Starliner home, and I envy you the up close view, but we appreciate your updates.
I do too.
Oh, sorry about that. Thought I muted it.
Starliner has returned safely. Well done to the entire team for completing the mission with a successful undocking, deorbit, and landing. Starliner has once again proven herself a safe ride to and from space.
All right, easy.
On behalf of the entire Boeing team,
with your written
welcome
letter.
home, Calypso.
And with that, we will also wrap up our coverage tonight. We would like for you to stay tuned for our 12:30 a.m. post-landing news conference. That is 12:30 a.m. Central Time, so about an hour and a half, a little less than an hour and a half from now, when we'll be giving you final thoughts on the activities of the night. But Starliner is home again. The
3,
landing
2,
came
1
at
surprise.
11:01 p.m. Central Time, and with that, we will sign off. Thank you so much for following along with us. This is Mission Control Houston.
Well, that was fun. Where's my screen? That was fun. I didn't expect that time would go by so quickly. When I first started and they were talking about how long it was going to take, I thought it was going to be a while. But it was great being with all of you twice today, early and later, and depending on where you are in the world, it could be morning already. I mean, New Zealand, Australia, wherever you are. I appreciate you coming and joining me and listening to me jibber jabber and talk about space and nominal and Astroglide. Hey, tell somebody about that Astroglide. When you're at the Starbucks, say, I met an Astroglide. Well, X-ray. And X-ray tell you all about it. But like I said, if you're new, consider subscribing. Please, everybody, give this video, this live stream, a thumbs up, because believe it or not, people on YouTube always say that. And I know it's annoying. It's so frustrating in between calling people guys, but that's how the algorithm reads it. YouTube isn't run by people. It's run by a machine. It's run by HAL from 2001, A Space Odyssey. So it reads the thumbs up and it reads the comments. The more comments, the more thumbs up, the more it pushes it. It's a whole thing, man. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. And with that, we'll do more of these. We'll get together. We'll have some fun. And I also wanted to let you know, since I have this set up, I'm going to be looking to do some interviews with not only aviation people, but some people aviation adjacent, and bring it to you in a podcast form so you don't have to catch it live. It'll be pre-recorded and you can watch it at your leisure. But I have a list. I have a list of people that I think you'll enjoy. Now I just have to get them to answer my email. With that, thank you. I appreciate it. Remember, hug somebody you love. And until next time, this is Maximus.